Do you guys like, if you're watching the YouTube, I was doing a little kissy face. I don't know why I did that. Hello, happy Monday. Still a Monday release, even though it's later in the day. I have managed to, well, gratefully, we have Trent's mum staying with us while I was away, and it's Trent's birthday on Wednesday, so she's around. And so I've been able to carve out some space to update you guys on the last 4 to 5 days because it's been a whirlwind of a time. And yeah, I want to debrief. I actually haven't spoken it out from start to finish, even things that transpired yesterday since I've been home. Like there's a lot I want to speak to in me going down to Sydney, going to the Vogue event, seeing Pamela Anderson, the inspiration that she brought up in me, but also the challenge that I was facing off with actually body image, which I did not see coming, but kind of makes sense given all the suppressed anger stuff that was coming through for me while I was in Sydney. I'm really looking forward to a therapy session with you all today to speak out multiple moving parts. And I think the simplest way for me to do this is in, what's the word? Like order from start to finish. What's that term? Oh, I hate it when you get stuck on a word. I am day three, so I'm a bit brain foggy, surprisingly with energy. I think it's because I have very long luteals, in case you guys were wondering. So this cycle was like a day 36, and I really didn't think my bleed would drop while I was in Sydney, but it did. And yeah, so anyway, I've got energy, but I'm brain foggy. I want to do it in, it's not crescending order. Guys, what's the word? You're yelling it at me. It feels like it starts with a C. I can see it in my mind's eye. It's not cohesive. Oh, that's going to annoy me this entire episode. Anyway, I'm going to do it in order from start to finish. So, and I am actually going to release a subscriber episode. I've had some thoughts around this, by the way, guys. Today's subscriber episode, I'll probably release at the same time as this episode because there's a part to this story that belongs behind a paywall. It's not for everyone's ears, just given the sensitivity of the topic. But I do feel like it's going to be an important puzzle piece of this journey I've been on in the last 5 or 6 days. So there'll be an additional subscriber episode released today off the back of this episode that kind of just fills in a little blank, and it will make sense once we get there. But I had a thought today in what, because I have been, while you guys may not see a lot of what I do behind the scenes in my business, especially now I have beautiful Ash working with me. We're speaking out a lot, and I constantly get drop-ins of, oh, we should look at this and let's do this. And we've been backing and forthing around subscriber episodes because right now they're very ad hoc. It's very much like a additional Dear Diary when you guys are, when I feel like there's additional flavors to share that aren't for public ears. And at the same time, obviously, subscribers get access to free readings with me for those 20-minute bonus episodes. So that's a little perk to thank you guys for financially supporting this podcast, even though I haven't had consistent subscriber episodes released. It definitely has been something that we have been talking about in the background, and I've landed on what they're going to be. And it gets me so excited. Every month for subscribers, I am going to release a celebrity natal chart episode where if it's a celebrity in the zeitgeist or just someone that I'm kind of hyper fixating on, like for me right now, it's Noah Khan. That will be the first episode. I'm going to pull up their chart. I'm going to break down what I felt their chart was before I pulled it up, and then where that kind of aligns with what their chart actually is and how I see that expressed in their life. So it's a really cool way of just getting to understand the flavors and nuance of these beautiful, beautiful public figures. I mean, not all the time. They're not always going to be beautiful. It will never be from a place of judgment, gossip, or criticism of a person. And it will only be through the lens of deep curiosity around people and public figures and placements in charts. Like even when I was watching the Lamar Odom documentary the other week when I was sick, I found it fascinating because the whole time I'm going, oh, he's got to be this. And then when Khloe Kardashian entered the chat, I'm like, she's got to be this. And then pulling up their charts while I was watching it, I was able to like draw the parallels of what I was feeling and what they were expressed in. Tell you another great chart to look at that, Ash, let's add this to the list. Eminem. I love Eminem. His chart will surprise a lot of you. So that's going to be subscriber bonus episodes. And it gets me excited. It's like I've needed to wait until the excitement dropped for me to like, I don't want to just churn out things to churn them out. I want to be genuinely deeply interested. And so that will be coming for subscribers as of when I'm back from Fiji. So as of May. I leave for Fiji in 2 weeks. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Anyway, so that week you'll receive the bonus episode, like a reading episode, but you won't have an episode from me. Anyway, Alex, let's get into the sequence of events of me heading down to Sydney last week for the Pamela Anderson event, run by Wanderlust and Vogue. So, contextually, you guys will remember I received a DM only a week prior from Loco Love Chocolate inviting me as their guest, me and a plus one, to attend the Sydney event. I didn't have plans to be down in Sydney, but this is one of those opportunities where I'm like, I need to be in that room, and I will put myself in that room. And literally within an hour of that DM, I had booked my flights, stayed with my best friend Leah. It was all happening. And called Trent at work. He's like, you absolutely have to be there, and we just made it work. And thankfully, we do have family that can drop things and come up to help if need be, although Trent would have been fine to manage it on his own as well. It's just that when you don't have family around to help, it would have meant that he would have had to take days off work. So anyway, we made it work. And for me, a few things felt important for me to be in that room. Firstly, I have very much adored Pamela Anderson forever, but especially when her documentary, it's called With Love, Pamela. It's on Netflix, it still is. But when that came out a few years ago and I watched that, I just fell in love with her. I was like, wow, you are such an example of a woman who is so deeply in integrity with her truth and unapologetically so, but in a way that's so soft. And she really drew me in. And in fact, she's a fascinating astrology chart. I could do a whole episode on hers. But I remember looking up her chart at the time and being like, oh my God, Cancerian sun, textbook. Like, she's such a beautiful expression of that Cancerian energy. And I just was drawn to her from that moment. I've followed her on Instagram kind of always, even down to, I'll see if I can find the video a few years ago. It was when she first stepped out onto a red carpet with no makeup on. I think it was at a Vanity Fair Awards. And I was blown away. I'm like, this woman is divine and stunning. And the statement she's making without even intending to make a statement, where she's showing up barefaced and she looks so beautiful. And I remember I shared it in my stories and she watched my story. This was when I was living in the old house. So this would have been at least 3 years ago. And I freaked. I was like, oh my God, Pamela Anderson watched my stories. This is crazy. Like, it was one of those moments where you're like, what is happening? And it felt like that moment was the closest I'd ever get to her. Fast forward to, yeah, 2 weeks ago, getting that, or 10 days ago, getting that invitation. And for me as a projector in human design, one of our strategies is to wait for invitations that are aligned, invitations that feel like a full body yes, and then putting yourself in those environments. And that's not that you sit back and do nothing. Something that I've definitely learned as a projector is that you have to make yourself visible to receive invitations that are aligned in the first place. So you definitely need to be actively, in whatever way it feels in alignment with your energy, at least as a projector. You need to be in visibility in your areas of expertise and responding to people's, like, we're not meant to just share advice. We need to wait for the invitation to offer our advice. So it's kind of like the strategic play of our energy type to be like, I need to be witnessed in my brilliance when someone invites me in for my perspective. And that's when other aligned invitations will come. And when invitations come, the strategy for a projector is saying yes to the ones that feel like a yes, not yes to every single one. And so I'm very grateful that in this point in my career and in my business, I mean, I've been going at this for 10 plus years now. I receive lots of invitations all the time around gifting opportunities and collaboration opportunities and invitations to be on people's podcasts, like so much stuff you guys don't see behind the scenes. And I reckon 8 out of 10 times it's a no. 8 out of 10 times it's this doesn't feel like a yes. And there's that cliched saying, we grow by what we say no to. But I really do believe that every no points you to a more of a yes opportunity, so that I can be really, it's a discernment piece, right? Which actually the Virgo South Node is working all of us in the collective to be discerning around our energy, the rooms we put ourselves in, the people we spend time with. Like, this Virgo South Node is going to continue to work these themes for us up until the nodes shift mid-year. And so I definitely think I've become really good at mastering. Yeah, mastering. I'm going to own that. what a yes is and what a no is. And so when this invitation came through, I was like, stunning, it's a yes. I did know Pamela Anderson was coming out well before it was publicly announced because obviously I went on tour with Wonderlust last year. So it was all, I already knew this was coming. And for me, that's why I had been really actively manifesting being in the room with her from probably December last year. Not every Dr. Joe Medi I've done, but a lot of them were consistently when I was seeing myself in the rooms I wanted to be in. One of them was being in the room with Pamela Anderson. I mean, the dream for me was to facilitate cacao for her personally. And hey, never say never, that could still happen. But it's one of those like, I'm full of the cliched sayings today. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you land among the stars. And that's kind of what that was. It was like my manifestation and my focus was I'm going to facilitate cacao for Pamela. I'm going to facilitate cacao for Pamela. And while I didn't get the moon in that instance, I got the stars, which was I was a guest of Loco Love. I was a guest of cacao to Pamela, and not just the big event itself, but the media VIP event. And I was able to take my best friend. So I feel like I'm very short of breath today. I think me speaking this out, there's a lot of adrenaline that's moving through me as I'm speaking. So bear with me, guys. I might be doing like yawning, sighing as I'm speaking it out. I'm giving myself permission to just land in my body a bit more because it has been a lot of energy over the last few days and like one thing to the next thing to the next, basically. So I flew out of the Gold Coast, which is an hour from our home, on Thursday last week at a seven. Can you hear me? Like the shallow breathing. This is a prime example of being in fight and flight, which makes sense. I know I am. I've needed to rely on adrenaline to get me through, especially being in luteal and then my bleed. So flew out at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, which meant I had to get up at like 4 to get to the airport. I flew out of the Gold Coast basically because it was cheaper than flying out of Ballina. Crazy vibes. Anyway, landed in Sydney, caught a ferry over to Manly because when I'm in Sydney, I like to spend time in the Northern Beaches. That is the energy of home for me. I was born in Manly, and I think I've spoken about this before in the lineage that I train under. And I feel like most Indigenous traditions, there is such a deep reverence and connection to the land you were born on. And so for me, I was born in Manly Hospital back when it existed. And it's always been the place I return to. When I first moved out of home, it was over there. When Trent and I first moved out together, it was over there. When we first got our dog Lola, it was on the Northern Beaches. Like when I went to school, first day of school was in Freshwater. Like the Northern Beaches holds that nostalgia and that real, I am a fourth house moon, so home and environment is very emotional for me, and that sense of nostalgia. I also have Cancer ruling my first house, and I've got Jupiter and Chiron there. So, home matters. And I do feel that even though we left Sydney, because Sydney didn't feel like home, the energy of Sydney is a lot for a lot of people, I think, but definitely for someone super sensitive like me. It's almost like I had to say goodbye to home to find another home up here, which I feel so grateful for because we've definitely landed in home here. But I did feel emotional when I was on the ferry going over to Manly, and just the water there, the ocean there holds me. I can't explain it. It's a real kismet felt. Um, I just feel so held by the land. Oh my God, it makes me want to cry. I love it when I return. And so it's almost like a pilgrimage back. It's so strange. Anyway, um, then the plan was, so I landed early that morning. The event was that evening. I was going to go shopping for an outfit. So you remember that I said, this is a Vogue event. I had all of this Aries energy transiting my 10th house, actually ninth as well, which is travel. How funny. But my 10th house of public image, of career, of leadership. And for me, my head and the Leo in me as well went, great, an opportunity to dress up, be seen, take up space, be shiny, like this is everything that I've been working towards. And how cool, I know I said this in last week's episode, to be invited as the psychic and the cacao ceremonialist by the cacao brand, that they're like, you belong in that room, Holly. Like you belong in the room with, what was her name? There were so many like famous media people in that room. And I feel like I want to say Sandra Sully, but is that her name anymore? I don't think it is. Anyway, that caliber of media person. And so for me, it was this piece around, firstly, I don't buy myself clothes often, if at all. Any kind of new clothes I'm wearing, I'm grateful to it be an aligned invitation where I receive it as a gifting. So you guys know, yeah, like the recent Tree of Life haul, I get gifted my spell outfits, my beautiful Maureen Ev, which I'm currently wearing. Check this set out if you're on YouTube. Look at this set. Are we obsessed? Because I am. This is one of my newest. So I very rarely buy new clothes. I've always been that way inclined because I wear the same thing over and over again. I didn't realize it, but it is an autistic trait. And I have like majority of my clothes I've had for at least 5 years, if not 10 years upward. I'm not a big shopper. I'm not a big fashion girly. I know what I like. I know what I feel good in, especially when I've learned my colors. That like makes choice very easy for me to go. If it's not in my colors, I don't even look at it anymore. It just like eliminates that Libra inability to decide. So I recommend if you've got strong Libra placements, get your colors done, and then it takes out a lot of the guesswork. Anyway, I booked my hair to be blow dried, which I have not had done since I couldn't even tell you, but before I became a mother. Like, I don't do these things for myself because I'm not really driven. Like, you guys would probably notice, I never get my nails done or very rarely do. And I'm just not. I'm high maintenance for sure in lots of other ways. Like she only drinks filtered water. At the moment, actually, I'm drinking spring water. We've upgraded. And I like have the best homeopathics and like I spend a lot of money on my body work. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not here going like, I'm not a high maintenance girly. I actually really am. But when it comes to image and how I look, I just kind of know what works. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this felt like a really fun opportunity to just elevate things, take things up a notch, like have the blow dry. I do my own makeup anyway. I like to do my makeup when I decide to do it, which is very rare. So that was fine. And buy a beautiful outfit. And I had been looking online before I landed and had some ideas. Like, I love Zimmerman. They are like my ultimate designer label. I don't own anything Zimmerman. That's like a luxury spend. But I was like, well, this could be an opportunity for a Zimmerman piece or Alame or Leo Lin or, that they were the kind of brands I was looking at. But I also was looking at, your Witcheries and your Dishes. And I knew if I went to the mall, Warringah Mall, if you're not from the Northern Beaches, but we call it the mall. I've been going there since I was literally my little girl's age. Um, I knew I'd find something, or so I thought. I mean, I did in the end, but fuck. And this was right in the thick of all those Aries transits. And I was very curious. I was like, maybe the event itself is it. Like, I don't feel any suppressed anger. I feel excitement. And I was shopping with my mum, so it would be nice to have that time with her. And yeah, basically, I had 3 hours to find a look, including shoes, because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I don't have shoes. I don't own, you probably do. I'm like a repeat shoe offender. I have one pair of Elias May. They're great. I wear them with everything. That's all I wear. So I needed to get heels. And it was just a thing. And then I was going to go to Leah's. We were going to get ready. We were going to go. I went straight to David Jones because I'm like, great. Okay. This is what I used to do back when I lived on the Northern Beaches and it was a birthday coming up. I'd go into David Jones, I'd try on Breckenbridge, I'd try on something. Usually I would end up wearing Breckenbridge actually. And I knew that they would have Alame and a few other brands there. And this is when it started. This is when I went, oh, I forgot. I forgot how hard it is to be not just larger busted. This is a very niche experience, and I don't expect many of you will understand it, but I really want to talk about it because I've just completely diminished my experience of it for a while. I used to talk about it all the time when I was like in my body love advocacy like era. I'm not that anymore. Chronological order, chronological. I told you it would come in at a random time. There it is. I grabbed it. I knew it started with C. Chronological. God. Anyway, I have the unique experience of having a small waist and a big bust. So it's different too. And I get really, I get a bee in my bonnet. And this is where all the suppressed rage is going to come out, guys, because I haven't spoken this out really. I mean, I did a little bit with Ashley yesterday and I was a blubbering mess. So it's probably going to be emotionally charged, but I get very frustrated when I say brands that I love as well, and they'll do Q and A's, and someone will ask, can I see the clothing on a model with a larger bust size? And they put someone up. Here's our model. She has a 12D. Sorry, sorry. It is so offensive. It is so offensive. And I know I'm sensitive about this, and I don't care. Because okay, let's talk about cup sizes for a second, and then we're going to talk about band sizes. So cup sizes go from an A, B, C, D, double D, E, F, double F, G, H, right? When you're putting someone in a D, you're still in the small range of cup sizes. Not to mention a band that is a 12 is a small band. And that like 14 is like the average band size, 14 to 16 in this country. And then you've got 18, then you've got 20, right? So for me, I am a 12 double H. Okay, just I know I say it a lot, but I don't think people can actually wrap their heads around. I reckon I've got about 10 kilos of weight carrying on the front of my chest. I just want you guys to wrap your head around that. And if you have, and it with a small waist. So that's where the issue actually lies is I have a size 12 waist, sometimes 10, depending on the clothing, but I have a double H cup size that sit at the front. And so it's very real that like I am disproportionately imbalanced. Not to mention all of the ways that I live that I've just adapted to because this has just been my norm for so long that I never complain about, I never fucking talk about. But it tipped me over the edge on the weekend when I was trying on these fucking clothes and absolutely nothing fit me. And I was getting so angry about it. It was really all the Aries rage, and it was so fascinating. I don't exactly know exactly where, I don't exactly know exactly. I don't know where exactly it was hitting for Cancer, but there has to have been something where it was hitting my Chiron, because Cancer rules the breast. That's why I'm saying that. Cancer rules the breast and the stomach. It had to have been, the Aries transits had to have been making an aspect to my Chiron. I should have checked this. And potentially even my Gemini rising, but my Chiron in the first house, which is wounding around my image, and particularly for me, my boobs. And I'm so sick of this conversation because I really don't think many people actually get it, like actually fully understand how frustrating it is to exist in a body that is not catered to, that is judged and shamed consistently. And for me, it's been, I could get by before I had my little girl because for the small waist size I had, my bust was quite perky. And so I was able to not wear a bra. And so that was actually really in my favor. But nowadays, like since even though I couldn't breastfeed very well, I still breastfed for 5 months. We combo fed, and my breasts grew in pregnancy and then dropped in postpartum. Like, before I was pregnant, they were probably an E, maybe sometimes an F, but then they just went, shh. They were up to I think they were up to an I, and maybe sometimes now they come back to a G. Like I kind of fluctuate depending on my cycle. But I'm talking like wearing a seatbelt is difficult because the seatbelt can't go over the boobs because they stick out so far. So it has to go over, like it goes over my neck. I had to stop going to Pilates because, sorry, anything bending over, I couldn't do because it was just so heavy. There's so much weight. I can't stand up straight. My waist disappears in everything I wear. Because unless the outfit lifts my breasts up, you can't actually see my shape. And then I don't feel attractive. I don't feel, and that is important to me, guys. I'm a Leo with a Libra moon, like beauty in all ways, including aesthetic beauty. I'm not going to shame myself for this, especially not in Taurus season, but it is something that makes me feel good. And it's not about other people's beauty standards, it's my own beauty standards. And I've done a lot of healing around what patriarchal beauty standards are versus my own. And I do like feeling beautiful and sexy. And I feel like I was really looking forward to that feeling. stepping into that event on Thursday. And I think, I mean, I eventually did find something, but when I say it took close to 3 hours of trying, so I would have to go to the largest size on the rack, which is usually a size 16, knowing that it would be swimming on me everywhere except my bust. And then it just would not, like, I'm talking not even like over the lower part of my boobs. And there was one point in Witchery where the woman, I mean, she meant well, but she was killing me because she was like this shop assistant, probably in her mid 60s. And she was saying to me, "Oh, honey, I understand." And I was looking at her like, first of all, you're in your mid 60s, you're 30 years older than me. Secondly, you look like you have a D cup. You don't get it. You actually don't understand. And I'm so sick of people saying they understand when they have like a fucking D cup. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend any of you, but it's such a different experience. Like, it's so different. This is like, my health and the structure of my body and like a very real reason why I'm afraid to be pregnant again. I honestly am so desperate to have a reduction. I'm so desperate because I know it will change my life in so many ways. I have so many friends in my life who have had similar experiences and they're like, you're not going to know yourself. But unfortunately, the reality of that is I have to wait until I'm done having kids because they grow back. And I'm not spending all that money and going through major surgery to then have them grow back again and have to go through that again. I'm just not going to do that. And so I'm in this real kind of rock and a hard place where I just have to kind of deal with it. And at the same time, stepping into these spaces where, as I said, like this shop assistant from Witchery who meant well. And then it was like she was all of a sudden my best friend when she found out I was going to a Vogue event. She obviously just wasn't listening to me and wanted to get me in the clothes, like in her clothes. She was putting me in like high neck shit and tight stuff. And as I said, I was day 35. So my words to my mum as I walked in is like, nothing form fitting and no high necks. And then there were even my mum, by the end, she was like, you could tell she was just like, "No, Holly, you look beautiful." I'm like, "Oh my God, can we stop saying how good I look in things that clearly I feel uncomfortable in?" It's an autistic thing. And also, just because something finally fits me doesn't mean like that's the thing because it fits. Like, that's how it felt. It was like, let's hurry this up because, nothing else is fitting me. And I just, yeah. And then I know I'll get people being like, like curve stores and plus size stores, but I need to reiterate that like I'm a size 12. It's just the bust. So this is it's like, I don't want to go to Taylor's to get my shit taken in. I don't like, I'm very frustrated. Anyway, thank you for listening to me vent because like all of this was coming up in the shopping experience. I'm so angry. I was so upset. I was like, my last ditch attempt was when I walked into Dish. The first thing I want to give Dish credit to is the shop assistant that served me in Dish at the mall had an average female size body. I'm going to guess she was a 14 or a 16. And I instantly could sigh of like relief. She definitely didn't have like as big boobs as me, but she was definitely a body I could relate to. And instantly I was like, okay, I feel safe in this store. I feel represented in this store. She's obviously wearing the store's clothes. There's going to be something that fits me. So that was the first experience where I was like, okay, this is great. Like, this is not some sort of, and I think it's emphasized, especially in environments like Sydney, where everyone's on Ozempic. Let's be real. Like, it's like that heroin chic fucking look is back in inverted commas. And it's infuriating and everyone looks the same and then you don't feel represented and then it's like I don't even know, like, no wonder I'm living in my favorite staples of Tree of Life, of Spell, and of Maureen Ev. Like, of course I am, because they all cater to, I will say though, Spell one of the brands that does that. Here's a bigger bust model. She's a 12 double D. Guys, I love you guys so much, but no, that's not it. It's just there's no inclusivity when it comes to breast size, I'm finding. And so of course I'm going to stick to the brands where I've managed to figure out that they fit me, because trying anything new it just feels impossible. So I end up with that beautiful brown dress, which I will wear all the time. It only cost me $80. It was fitting, but like tight, but it like I felt I felt beautiful in it. I felt like you could see my shape. I felt like I didn't have to wear something like baggy because that's the other thing when you have a big bust and you wear something baggy. I mean, prime example me today. This is what I usually wear during the day because, I'm not dressing up to be like a sexy gal when I'm in my mum zone. But if you're watching on the YouTube, you'll see like for me, I have to go so far up because my boobs sit so far out, but my waist is actually right in like, let's do this. It's small. It's in there. You can't see my shape though because of my boobs. And this is just, I feel like I've just like suppressed it. It's the suppressed anger, which creates inflammation in the body. Ironically, is probably adding to the breast size. And I've just suppressed it and tolerated it for so long. Like I can't wear oversized t-shirts and feel like good in them. I look like a sack. Like other than the Maureen Ev ones, I don't know what you do, Kel, but they got me through postpartum and I live in them. I actually live in everything Maureen F. Plug, plug, plug. I know so many of you buy their sets because I get the DMs. You influence me, but like there are very few designers that think of female bodies in this way of like and for the like so long, I'm like, do I make t should I make a t-shirt line that's actually flattering for a bigger bust shape? Like, should I make? But I'm not a fashion girly. I just know what I feel good in and what looks good, and I just couldn't find it represented anywhere. And I got to say, lucky that dress in Dish did fit and look good because everything else I tried on in Dish didn't fit me, everything else. Or I looked like a sack in. And I didn't want to go to this event looking like a sack because I'm already curvy. You need to see my shape. Like I'm not on Ozempic and like the oversized look is in. Like it's not, let's just be real. That is not how I am. And so for me, I always say it to Trent, I'm like, I feel better, sexier, and more beautiful with the least amount of clothes on. I always have because you can actually see my shape when I'm like that. And that's what I really wanted. And yeah, anyway, you can hear it was such, I got so upset, I got so heady. Thankfully, we were ending that experience with the blow dry. And I need to do that more because I really did feel beautiful with that. Like that was a win. I was like, and I think it must be because the Leo, the lion's mane, the Leo hair, I got it, got it done. And I really did feel beautiful with that blow dry. It's still in. I need to wash my hair tonight, but that was definitely a win. And I was like, God, I need to get blow dries more because it definitely, that was the vibe I was going for, that elevated vibe. I felt that with my hair. So anyway, got dropped to Leah's and we got ready and headed into the city together. Ran into Zoe Marshall. She was there as well. So that was great to see her. And her and Leah have heard volumes about one another. So my two Gemini friends got to connect and meet, which is beautiful. And then we all went up into the media room for the pre-event media conversation with Pamela. And there were about maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 of us invited into that. And it wasn't Sandra Sully, by the way, it was Jessica Rowe. Oh my God, everything's landing now. But this was the caliber of media person in this room. And as we walk in, we are ushered to the front row. So Leah turned to me and she's like, we're in spitting distance. So I don't know why she said that. But we could have spat and it could have landed on Pamela. We would never have spat on her. God, it was lit like she was right there. I'm sure you guys saw on my social media. And that was amazing to be front row, front and center, literally, you know, watching Pamela. The interview was great. It was very much the interview for the media. There were no questions to the audience. Um, but she is, oh, firstly, so beautiful, just so like physically stunning. No makeup. She probably had maybe a little bit of like something on her skin. I don't know. But her hair was just from the humidity. She's like, my hair is just doing this from Sydney humidity. It was like tousled and tousled. Her outfit, everything about her. She's 58. I was like, you are a dream. She's so softly spoken, so you could just feel kindness and warmth and her softness, yet her strength. She was funny. She's a Gemini rising, can relate. um, it was just a beautiful energy. It was a beautiful experience. Do you know what she said under her breath when she sat down and looked through the room? She goes, "This is the media. You're also healthy." Like she was so shocked by how healthy we all looked. Um, it was just amazing to be that close to her. So that was really special. And then we were ushered down to the main event. So we got to try the new Loco Love flavor. Oh my God, guys, the strawberry and vanilla hibiscus. If you got the Valentine's Day box, it was the strawberry chocolate in that box. And I was obsessed with it when the box came out. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, they've released it as a new flavor. So get your hands on that. It's so good. It's definitely up there. I'm usually one of the caramel girlies, but it's up there as a favorite for me for sure. Um, and then we went into the main event and it started with a beautiful breath house meditation. Her name was also Holly. I was like, how funny. They had a Holly open with cacao last time, and now they had a Holly opening with meditation this time. And they had a live harpist. Is that what you call a harp player? Play. So that was really special. And then Pam came out again, and they had this beautiful display of fresh flowers on the stage. It was like dahlias and just stunning. And she spoke for about 80 minutes. And I just want to recap some of my favorite things that she spoke to. The thing that I was most inspired by is the way that she says yes to life and opportunities that were presented to her that were so outside of her comfort zone. But her way of looking at life is, I'm going to do this because it's going to be an adventure. And the first time that that happened was when, I don't know if you guys know the story of how she actually got scouted when she was, young, young, young. I think she must have been in her teens. And she went to a footy game with a friend of hers and they wore these beer t-shirts, these branded t-shirts, and she ended up on the big screen at this footy game, and the beer brand ended up wanting her to be the face of the brand at these football games. And that was when she got a call from Playboy, and they said, we want you to be on the cover. And she'd never done modeling, never taken her clothes off in public. She was like, where did this come from? She's from Canada. She was in an island. They called it the Rock. So she was on an island in Canada, and she declined. And her mum said, you need to do this. You need to get off the rock. You need to go see the world. And so she ended up in LA, getting picked up, going to Playboy, and she ended up shooting consistently for them. And she said the first time that she was there, they actually had to use something from the first roll of film because she was vomiting. She was in the toilet sick because she's like, I can't believe I am firstly in front of a camera, posing nude. Like, this is not me. I don't know what I'm doing here. And she said she had to really push through that, find that courage. She was asked a lot about confidence. She's like, I'm not confident. I'm not, but I have to lean into the courage to do the thing that scares me. She's like, something she kept saying is, I want to know what I'm made of. I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to constantly push myself. And that first opportunity, the Playboy opportunity, was her opportunity to do that. And she said by then she realized, based on her childhood and definitely the fact that she's a Gemini rising, that she'd worn lots of masks her whole life. She's like, I would play characters rather than showing up as who I was. I'd just play a role. And so she realized to make the most of the Playboy opportunity, she had to play a role. She had to be the Playboy model. And once she accessed that part of herself, she loved it. She's like, you could barely get clothes on me. She's like, I would look at the photos and go, wow, I feel so sexy. And then she was really empowered and she felt amazing. And then when she first started modeling for Playboy, and this is where the boobs thread comes in. And when you listen to this subscriber episode, your mind is going to be blown. But when she first modeled for Playboy, it was her natural breasts, and then she got a boob job because all the other Playboy models did, and she was like, "Oh my God, I want boobs!" And then everyone was just fixated on her boobs, talking about her boobs. And then she got invited to Baywatch. That was another opportunity. She wasn't an actress. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think the casting agents had to call her 12 times to convince her to take on that role of CJ in Baywatch, which obviously was like a breakthrough moment for her in her career. Even when it came to what's his name, Tommy Lee, and the father of her two children, she's been married to him twice, three times, I think only twice. Um, he pursued her, and she was like and they got married after 3 days of knowing each other. Like everything in her life has been this, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to say yes and see where it goes. And she's like, that's not to say that it hasn't been without its challenge. She's like, but everything has led me to where I am now. And she's like, I'm just so grateful for the life that I've led because now I'm living this, she's living the quintessential Cancerian sun dream. She grows her own fruits and vegetables. She pickles. She's been vegan for a very long time. She's very passionate about animal rights and animal activism. She made a comment in the media interview, and I popped it on my stories where she said her view of activism these days is about romantic activism. And it's how can she be the activist in her life and create beauty and use beauty and joy and happiness as her nods to rebellion. And I know I've said this on my podcast as well, where our greatest rebellion in times like we're facing now is joy and a regulated nervous system. And she said all of those things. I was honestly sitting there like, oh my God, we would have such great chats if we ever got the chance to hang out, because she was just reiterating a lot of what I also believe and speak to, which was really cool to have reflected back. And for me, the inspiring part was like, where can I say yes to more things that scare me? Where can I open up the opportunities, and something for us all to think of, open up to big opportunities that like are kind of left of field or kind of like obscure or kind of like, oh, that really tests me, but I'm going to lean into that because where could that lead me? Like we don't actually know. And she said at this point in her life at 58, she's never felt more aligned. She's never felt more creatively fulfilled. Like she's just recording, she's about to shoot a musical with Guy Pearce, and like she'll be singing and dancing. Like when she got invited to do Chicago on Broadway, in her 50s, and she'd never sung publicly in her life. And then she said yes, because she's like, I'm just going to see how it goes. Like it's this opportunist, and saying yes to the things that scare you, because not having the confidence to do it isn't the excuse. It's like, where can I muster the courage to lean into it anyway? And I just, yeah, it was really leaving a lot of food for thought for me around where I've been playing maybe small. I don't think I'm someone who plays small, but I can definitely dream bigger, especially under all this Aries energy activating my 10th house. Is like, I was looking at that and going, I should be up on that stage interviewing her. I was looking at that and going like, I belong in that media room, but as media, like where's that bridge for me from where I am now to where, I have a journalism degree. Like all my life, I wanted to be the journalist, the talk show host. And I feel like I'm circling back to that. And this podcast is definitely a stepping stone in that direction. But I just think mainstream wise, I'm not recognized as that. And that's kind of where I'm being led now is how can I start to create a name for myself in the rooms I want to be in with more of a reputation around that part of me, the MC, the host, the presenter, the talk show host, etc. So it left a lot of seeds planted for me. So the event itself was wonderful, and it was just amazing to be in that room. It was so inspiring. And then there was the announcement, which I knew this was coming too from last year, but it was publicly announced that they're going to be bringing Jay Shetty out in November, as in Wonderlust is. And so you can imagine my next manifestation is something to do with that. If I could run ceremony just for Jay and his partner, or be in that media room and run ceremony for the media, it doesn't have to be for the however many thousand people, because that's hard logistically. I understand that. But that's kind of where my vision is taking me, is like, how can I step deeper into, like, I've even had thoughts around, I could release my own talk show series that's like a YouTube talk show where I get like bigger names, and it might start with Australian figures and then expand, but kind of like Chicken Shop Date. Have you guys watched with Amelia? Fucking funny. But I would call them heart to hearts, and we'd sit with cacao. I've just told you guys my IP. Don't steal that. If you steal that, I'm going to be so fucking angry. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me right now. She's big boobed and angry. um, but that's kind of where that's where my vision is taking me. And it's like, okay, I know I don't need to do anything with that yet, but that's kind of the seeds that I'm planting. When this Aries energy is, what do you want? That's what I want. That's what I desire. So yeah, it left a lot for me to feel into. And then we didn't get home until like 10:30 on the Thursday night. It was a very, very long day for me, as you can imagine. And then I woke up on the Friday early, because when you're a mum, do you have a body clock that's your own? No, you don't. And just had a chill day with my mum, and then we went out for dinner, me, Leah, and our mums, because our mums are best friends. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's very cute. We've got a little foursome happening. And then on the Saturday, I was flying back home, but not before I went and spent time with one of my best friends, Katie. I haven't spoken about Katie on the podcast at all, but if you guys have followed me for a while, you'll know like we are not on the podcast, on social media. Katie and I are yin and yang. We do not make sense on paper. You look at Katie and she is like professional athlete, sprinter, like just even looking at she has a shaved head. She's got ADD. I've got obviously the autism. She's a Virgo, which actually makes sense. Our charts do make sense, but we opposites attract basically, and we don't get to hang out that much because obviously we live far away and we live very different lives. Like we were best friends until I moved up here. Then I became a mum. She went on her own journey. If you guys follow her on social media, you would have seen everything that she's navigated the last few years, which has been massive. Like her Saturn return was so brutal to her. Katie Williams is who I'm talking about, by the way. And it's coming up to 10 years of friendship, and we love each other. We've had people ask us if we're in love, like in the past. Like her good friends of hers are like, "Are you guys like lovers?" And we're like, "Oh, we could be in another lifetime because we really are in love with each other." And anyway, I haven't spent time with her since my book launch last year, and especially haven't spent a solid amount of one-on-one time with her. And so I got 3 hours with her on Saturday. And when you're just with a friend, it makes me want to cry again. I love her so much. I feel like I've had a lot of, wow, I'm so emotional. I've had a lot of hard friendship stuff in the last 6 months. And so to spend like one-on-one time with a friend that feels like home. And we both cried when we saw each other. We cried when we left each other because like, she's like, "I'm not like this with any of my other friends." I'm like, "I know, I think we like are proper soulmates." Um, it just felt so nice to round out my weekend in that safety energy and that like her mum came over and I got to spend time with her mum because her family is like my family, and likewise like we FaceTimed Trent and my little girl, and like we I think the only way I can say it is like friends that are your family, and they're like your kin. They're your kin. Like even though you're not blood, you soul family. Like we come from the same star. Yeah, I'm really sad that I don't live closer to her because I feel like we bring out the best in each other. And that was so nice to have that time. And yeah, I just really miss her. I miss her friendship. I miss having her in my life in the way that we used to. Um, huh. So it was quite an emotional weekend. And then I flew back on the Saturday afternoon and landed on the Gold Coast. And then Trent came pick me up. Then I had organized a bodywork session with Asha, which was perfectly timed. I'd actually booked it in before I knew Sydney was happening. So perfectly timed for yesterday morning. It was 2 hours. And so in the lead up to the session, I figured that it would just be an integration session off the back of Sydney. I just need to land back in my body. Obviously, that quick turnaround of travel is very quick. I also I was going to say I received my period. I got my period on the Friday night. That's right. I had a big migraine on the Friday. Like there was a lot of energy. I was being very autistic by the end because there were so many people around. It's also really hard when you're going back to the place that you lived for 30 years and so many people you love are in that city and you can't say, "Hey, I'm around," because you literally have 48 hours and it's for work. Like I don't even think my sister knew I was in Sydney. So like I don't even know my brother. Like anyway, it's just one of those things. There's a lot of stress. And so I figured that when I saw Asha, it would just be about just releasing that stress, releasing that adrenaline. And then when I walked in and sat down with her, I think you guys know with Asha, she pulls cards for the session and you don't see the cards until the end of the session. But before you get on the table, you just debrief what you're working through. And I was like, "Oh, I'll tell you a bit about how Sydney was. I think I'm just going to land back in my body." And then I end up telling her about the shopping experience and how shit it left me feeling. And then I burst into tears. And I was just like, I never complain to the degree that this part of my body impacts me in everyday life. Like I've had someone in my DM saying that when they got their breast reduction, they didn't realize how hard it was to lift shopping bags until they got the reduction. And I don't know, I mean, I get targeted reduction videos in my reels all the time, but you can see just the size drop off people when they, and it's not just breast size, it's everywhere. And this is another thing where it's like, Holly, inflammation markers will go down when your breasts are lower in size because larger breasts produce more estrogen. And so estrogen creates inflammation. And it's like this domino effect. And so this is what I was kind of like venting to Ash. I'm like, I'm sick of this high inflammation. I'm sick of feeling like I'm just a visitor in my body. Like I just, it has been, the reality is it has been since pregnancy and postpartum. And I felt the sexiest I've ever felt in pregnancy. Like I grieved when I thought I was one and done. I grieved never being pregnant again. I loved it. I didn't think I would. But for me, is like it's a very real thing that it's been 4.5 years and I have spent thousands of dollars on my health and I've definitely come leaps and bounds, but I'm absolutely not where I feel I should be, given the investment that I'm making, all of the things I'm putting into my health. I'm just really at a breaking point. And you can't not compare. That's the other thing. Like I like to think I'm not a comparison person. And for the most part, I'm not. When it comes to my work, my creativity, my relationship, the type of mother I am, I don't compare. My money, like I'm not a comparison girl. I am with my body. I am with my body, especially when it's other mums around the same time as me. And I'm like still struggling to find clothes that fit me 4.5 years later, and not for a lack of trying. It's not a good feeling. And I'm not being hard on myself. I'm being realistic. And so I was having this vent to Ash and got on the table, and a lot of the download that was coming through to me was like, inflammation is a sign of suppressed anger. There's suppressed anger here, and the inflammation won't move until the anger moves. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to need to do some energy work on this. And then I was like, oh, I need to start taking one of the homeopathics that, because I haven't been taking those new remedies Liv gave me because I got sick and then I went to Sydney. I was like, I'll start them up when I'm back. And there are two different ones. And one of them she gave me, it's called dog's milk. That's the kind of layman's terms for it. And it's around breast trauma, breastfeeding trauma, the stomach. It's very cancer in energy, cancerian energy. And I was on the table and it came into my field. Like I was like, oh, when I get home, I'll take a dose of the dog's milk. I'll start it today. And so it was very strongly in my field. And when I came out of the session with Asha, I'll pull the cards up. She was like, okay, here's what's come through. She's like, firstly, you've got a really great spread. And if you guys saw one of my stories, it's like one of the best spreads I've ever seen in my life. So it's really good. The first cards that came out for her was spiritual awakening, beginnings, and transcendence. She's like, there's something you're definitely transcending here. And it's the start of a new chapter, a new journey. She's like, it sounds like from what you're moving through, it is around image and reclamation from patriarchal conditioning, your own shame around your body, your own shame around your breasts, and what the inflammation, stored inflammation, is actually telling you. She's like, but then we had the cards of dreams and shine. So what you're leaning into and what's coming is actually on the other side of that is everything you've ever dreamed of. And then the cards that came out together was organization, courage, Mother Earth, and sexuality from two different decks. I got double sexuality. And she's like, and this has been my constant journey, which I'm sure you guys are aware of. Like, my natural body is a body that is perceived in a sexual way. And I've done a lot of conditioning work around being okay with that and all of the shame that I've had from my father, who represents the patriarchy, which, by the way, can I just say, suppressed feminine rage that's been coming out with these Aries transits. Have we all felt it? I felt so much anger toward my dad this weekend. I felt so much anger toward men this weekend. I've been like so fucking livid. And so that was definitely a thread. And the sexuality piece coming out twice was like, how can I unapologetically own my breasts and the parts of myself that have been demonized, fetishized, labeled as the whore, and literally all from patriarchal structure. And that doesn't mean just men, but it's like women who are also like have internalized misogyny, because that's definitely been something that I've consistently been on the receiving end of. And so it's actually the rage that I hold around that, and like how unfair it feels to be the embodied example of what's so heavily and publicly criticized when it comes to a female body. So yeah, and then because you've got the double sexuality cards coming out with Mother Earth, and she's like, it's this mother energy, it's this real just like of the earth, like earth mama, goddess energy. And I'm like, I know when I feel my most magnetic physically, I do feel like a goddess. I have had those moments in my life where I'm like, I feel really sexy and I like my curves. I said this to Ash. I was like, when I get a breast reduction, I don't want small boobs. I want to go back to an E cup. Like I love my boobs, but it's just that it's become not right now because it's just become so impossible to live. I just want to get to a place where I'm able to exist in my body again. Like, I want to be curvaceous and goddess-like and like sexy and voluptuous. I'm into it. Like I actually love that that's my shape. It's more like the part where it becomes you're unable to live with it, right? It's and it's like impacting my health and my posture and my inflammation levels and my hormones. Like I don't want that. So then there was moving forward, non-attachment and acceptance, and then the catcher, which is like catching the negative stories you tell yourself and truth. So it's funny because when I went to Ash's session yesterday, I was without makeup. I think I had some BB cream on, no mascara, no concealer, no bronzer, none of that. And I took a photo of myself in the car. You would see it, it's on my feed. I put in my stories and then I put it as a photo on my feed. And I have no makeup on, I'm barefaced, and I felt really beautiful. And I was in my baggy Tree of Life dress, and I was barefoot, and I was in my soul home. And it was just this real visceral moment where I'm like, why did I try so hard to fit into that room on Thursday when that's not actually me? And like the blow dry, I'll take it. But and it's still me. Like that dress was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I put so much pressure on myself to find something that was Vogue worthy, inverted commas, to find something that where I would belong in that room when I always belonged in that room. And I actually would have felt better about myself if I got off that plane, went and had a drink with my mum, went and saw my best friend and rocked up barefaced in a Maureen Ev set. Like, I think I'm still learning. I'm still learning like how to take up space as me and that I don't need to conform to. It's so hard because I really did think, oh, this is me expanding. This is me like belonging in this room in like the best ways. And I know I belong there, but I need to match it. And as I said, the Leo part of me loves to dress up and loves to like get my hair done and loves those parts of me. But like when it's at a cost to my mental health, which it definitely was, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So that is my recap, which is so ironic, right? Because Pamela Anderson is now doing the bareface thing. Like you can see it's art imitating life, imitating art. Something happened off the back of that bodywork session yesterday within 30 minutes that will blow your mind. And I still can't wrap my head around exactly how that happened, but it's connected to my breasts. It's connected to the inflammation, suppressed anger. It's connected to the trauma I've been holding and wanting to release. You cannot make this up. I haven't actually spoken it out in its entirety to anyone. And I'm going to be releasing that part of the episode to the soul scribers. I'll basically load this one and then go record the next one. So if you're wanting to listen into what that's all about, subscribe. It's only $3 a month. And like, I promise I will be more consistent. But honestly, it's just, I know it feels like basically what you look at is if you subscribe for a year, that's $36. And I consider it like your way of saying thank you to me for these episodes that I clearly pour my heart and soul into. But I promise I will be more consistent with the Soul Scriber episodes. But yes, one of them is coming after this episode later this afternoon. It's good to be back in your ears, and I will be back on Wednesday with your Hump Day What's the Vibe. Bye, guys.